There comes a moment, quiet, small, when you realize someone close no longer feels safe to your soul. A best friend, a sibling, even your beloved partner. And if they're honest, many women in their 60s have ignored that feeling. Because letting go is hard. Familiar things feel safe, even when they hurt. So we stay. They keep smiling, keep giving, until one day, they feel completely drained. Tired not just in our bodies, but in our spirit. And that's when they know something has to change. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Hi, it's Vernon again. In today's video, I'll share how wise women after 60 choose peace. They quietly walk away from 5 kinds of people who drain their energy, not as a statement, but as a quiet return to what truly matters. But before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who may need it today. Wisdom grows when it's shared, and sometimes just hearing the right words can change the path ahead. So take a breath, settle in, and let's begin this quiet reclaiming of your peace. Type 1. That one who always leaves you feeling a little smaller. Sometimes, the people who chip away at us the most don't raise their voices. They smile, they nod, they even say the right things on the surface. But something in their words always lands just a little off. You walk away, not feeling supported but slightly deflated. The calm, strong woman I married once taught me this lesson firsthand. Years ago, she had a friend from college, Lena. On the surface, Lena was charming, generous, always quick to check in. But after each visit, my wife returned just a little quieter, a bit more unsure of herself. I began to notice the subtle changes. She'd say things like, "Maybe I shouldn't have shared that," or, "I don't know, maybe she's right. I'm not as sharp as I used to be." One day, after a dinner that left her visibly shaken, she told me, "I feel like I'm shrinking around her." That was the turning point. No fight, no farewell. Just a quiet decision to stop showing up, to stop explaining herself. And I have to tell you, watching her make that choice, not in anger, but in calm conviction, was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. That's the quiet power of an underminer. Their comments don't cut like knives. They wear you down like water over stone. And women, especially in our later years, are far more likely to encounter this subtle jabs, dressed as concern. Studies on social support show that consistent low-grade criticism leads to decreased confidence over time. Not because we're weak, but because even the strongest minds need safe spaces. With time and experience, wise women come to understand something deeply unsettling yet freeing. Not all kindness is genuine, and not all relationships are worth salvaging. They've seen enough to recognize that some words carry hidden blades. As the Greek philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And so, they choose to respond not with confrontation, but with clarity. No arguments, no long explanations, just quiet distance. They protect their joy by keeping it away from those who treat it with suspicion or envy. If someone's support feels more like performance than partnership, that's your sign. Protect your peace. You don't need an argument. You just need space. Because as you grow, you'll find that not everyone clapping is truly happy for you. Let's keep going. The next kind is even harder to recognize, because they don't chip away at your confidence. They drain your energy in slow, invisible ways, making you question whether your endless giving is strength or just a habit you've never unlearned. Type 2. The ones who are never truly there for you. This kind of person doesn't criticize you. They don't make sharp comments or roll their eyes at your dreams. No, they come to you in need, again and again. They reach out in moments of crisis, in chaos, in inconvenience, and you answer, because that's who you are. But slowly, you begin to notice. The relationship always leans one way. You're the listener, the fixer, the one who remembers, checks in, adjusts your day to accommodate their life. But when your own heart is heavy, when you need something back, the silence is deafening. Imagine a candle burning in a quiet room. Now imagine someone cupping their hands around it, drawing its warmth again and again, until there's no flame left. That's what it's like to be close to a chronic taker. They don't mean harm, but they've learned to lean on you like a crutch until you've become invisible beneath their weight. Wise women begin to feel it not just emotionally, but physically. Exhaustion, resentment, that hollow ache that builds when giving becomes an obligation, not a choice. Research in emotional labor tells us women, particularly older women, carry this imbalance the most, expected to care, absorb, and console without pause. In time, wise women come to a quiet realization: compassion is a gift, not a duty, and when it's taken for granted, it becomes a burden. Giving without reciprocity isn't kindness, it's self-abandonment. And here, their next step, they begin to draw gentle boundaries. They answer more slowly. They choose their presence with intention. Not out of spite, but because their energy is precious, and they finally learned it must be protected, because even a well must rest between pourings. And your energy, your presence, it's not just helpful, it's sacred. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever had someone like this? Someone who always needed you, but never showed up when it was your turn to lean? If so, what did you do? Did you keep giving? Or did you finally draw the line? Share your story in the comments below, because when we speak our truth, we remind each other that we're not alone. Now, let's talk about the next kind. Not just draining, but quietly dangerous. The kind that makes you second-guess opening up, that blurs the line between being generous and being used. And by the time you notice, the damage has already settled in. Type 3. The ones who misuse your trust. Cicero once wrote, "Nothing is more noble, nothing more venerable than fidelity." And yet, in the long landscape of life, few wounds run deeper than those caused by subtle betrayals. It's not the grand betrayals that haunt us most, it's the quiet ones. The ones wrapped in familiarity, softened by shared history. They slip in unnoticed, not with malice, but with neglect. And that's why they linger. Because they make you question your own heart, your own judgment, your own voice. These people don't come with sharp words or obvious betrayals. In fact, they often start as the ones you confide, in the ones you trust with your quietest truths. But somewhere along the way, they begin to mishandle what you've shared. They repeat your words to others. They twist your pain into conversation pieces. And they do it not out of cruelty, but out of carelessness. It's like handing someone a delicate vase and watching them balance it on the edge of a table. One slip, one misstep, and suddenly, your vulnerability is shattered. What makes this kind of person dangerous is not their intent, but their pattern. They minimize the breach, make excuses, or worse, blame your sensitivity. And yet, your body remembers the ache, the tightening in your chest, the instinct to share less, say less, trust less. Trust, as Dr. John Gottman reminds us, isn't born in grand promises. It's cultivated in the small, quiet moments. A gentle check-in, a story held in confidence. The familiar comfort of someone showing up, not because they have to, but because they care. And when these tiny moments start to vanish, not all at once, but gradually, what remains is not a rupture, but a slow unraveling. Trust doesn't break like glass. It fades like light at dusk. Wise women learn to stop debating whether the person meant it. They stop handing over their heart to people who hold it with casual hands. They don't make a scene. They don't beg for better. They simply choose silence, distance, and protection. Because your story is sacred, and not everyone deserves to hear it. Perhaps you've met this kind before, the kind that leaves you questioning whether you can ever be fully open again. The kind that teaches you, sometimes too late, that being generous with your truth doesn't mean offering it to anyone who asks. And when the damage settles in, it's not just trust that breaks, it's the quiet confidence that your heart is safe in someone else's hands. Type 4. The ones who live in constant chaos. Have you ever felt exhausted after spending time with someone, not because of what was said, but because of the constant emotional waves they bring? The kind of fatigue that sinks deeper than tired muscles. It touches your spirit. These people don't just carry burdens, they wear them like identity. Wherever they go, chaos follows. Their conversations are storms in disguise, filled with rising tensions, sudden turns, and emotional debris. You listen, you support, you try to steady them. But soon, you find yourself caught in a cycle that never ends. They are always the victim, always in crisis, always drawing you back into the storm. This kind of women reminds me about my neighbor Anine, warm, witty, and wonderfully charming. But every time my wife came back from coffee with her, she looked emotionally drained. There was always something, a falling out with another friend, a family feud, a fresh heartbreak. The problem was never resolved, only recycled. Over time, it wasn't just Janine who felt overwhelmed. It was everyone around her. And when my wife gently pulled back, Janine accused her of changing, of being selfish. But here's the quiet truth. It's not selfish to step back from someone who confuses drama with connection. Research in emotional contagion shows that constantly absorbing someone else's emotional volatility raises our stress hormones, weakens our immune system, and affects even how we sleep. And the older we get, the more our peace becomes not just valuable, but vital. Wise women recognize the toll of constant emotional turbulence, the racing thoughts, the tight chest, the subtle dread before a phone call. And in time, they stop rushing in to repair what was never theirs to mend. They learn to care gently, without becoming entangled. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do. Because sometimes, loving someone doesn't mean staying close. It means stepping back quietly, steadily, with love, not because you don't care, but because you finally care enough about your own peace. If this message touched something in you, don't hesitate to hit the like button. It helps this video reach others who may need it. But more than that, it gives me the quiet encouragement to keep creating from a place of meaning and care. And now, we come to the final kind. The one that's hardest to spot because, on the surface, they celebrate you, but underneath, their presence dims your light. This last type may be the quietest, but the impact they leave is lasting. Type 5. The ones who smile at your success, but shrink your joy. Not all harm comes from those who openly oppose you. Sometimes, it comes from the ones who cheer the loudest, but only when you're behind. These are the people who smile when you win, but it doesn't quite reach their eyes. You sense it in the shift of their tone, the tightness in their praise, the way your success becomes a quiet threat. Their support is conditional. It fades when you rise. And over time, you begin to shrink your light, just to keep the peace. You downplay your joy, soften your accomplishments, make yourself smaller so they won't feel small around you. In time, wise women come to understand this. Your light is not a burden, and your joy is not a threat. True connection isn't shaken by someone else's success. It deepens in its presence. Where love is real, it celebrates without shrinking. It welcomes expansion, not competition. And so, wise women no longer dim themselves to soothe someone else's discomfort. They rise, gently but fully, in their own light. As the philosopher Alain de Botton once wrote, anyone who is not embarrassed by who they were last year probably isn't learning enough. The same applies to relationships. If someone can't grow with your growth, they were only standing beside the older version of you. So protect your joy, guard your progress, and remember, it's not your job to make your light more bearable. It's your right to let it shine. The one that's hardest to spot, because on the surface they celebrate you, but underneath, their presence dims your light. This last type may be the quietest, but the impact they leave is lasting. Sometimes, what dims our spirit isn't criticism, but the subtle tension of being quietly resented. It teaches us to tiptoe around our joy, to hesitate before sharing good news. But your happiness should never feel like a threat in a true relationship. If your light unsettles someone, it's not your brightness that needs dimming, it's their discomfort that needs distance. The one that's hardest to spot, because on the surface, they celebrate you, but underneath, their presence dims your light. This last type may be the quietest, but the impact they leave is lasting. What you walk away from shapes what you become. At this stage in life, every moment is precious. Every relationship either nurtures your peace or chips away at it. And while letting go may feel heavy, holding on to what harms you carries a far greater weight. What you choose to carry into your next chapter should be chosen with care. This isn't about bitterness. It's about discernment. It's not about isolating yourself. It's about creating space for the people who truly see you, hear you, and want to walk beside you, not behind you, or in competition with you. True wisdom doesn't always come with answers. Sometimes, it arrives in the form of silence, of a step back, of a quiet knowing. This no longer serves me. As the philosopher Blaise Pascal once wrote, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. In that quiet, we rediscover our center, and from there, we begin again. So if any of these types felt familiar, I want you to know you're not alone. You're not overreacting. You're awakening. And if this video spoke to something in you, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It helps this message reach more women like you and gives me the encouragement to keep creating work that truly matters. Thank you for choosing presence, for choosing peace, and most of all, for choosing yourself. And I'm Vernon. See you in the next video.